Hi guys, it's Amy here and today I bring you my April wrap up. In April I read a total of 11 things. Let's begin with my lowest star rating first. That goes to Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I gave this one 2 stars. I really didn't think this was as good as it has been hyped up to be. To me it felt like the author kind of knew what reaction they were going to get with a specific type of thing and then just repeated that same thing throughout the whole book. As a collection I don't think it works because there are too many poems, I mean I wouldn't even call some of them poems, that are too similar to each other, so you just feel like you're reading the same thing over and over again and nothing stands out as particularly like noteworthy. There was definitely this feeling of the author wanting to shock you but doing it in a way that was just so blatant, so obvious, like you understood exactly what they were doing. There was no kind of cleverness to the way that the idea of the poem was kind of weaved in throughout the poem. It was all just very obvious what was going on. It was like the author is aware of certain topics that are very relevant right now, so feminism, rape culture, all things to do with the feminine body and things like that, and kind of played on that and really exploited those kind of things, but did it in such a kind of crass way that it didn't make it anything special or unique or clever. It just seemed a bit to me. So I wouldn't recommend this one, but if you just like search online you can see what these poems are kind of like, so you can see if it's something that you would enjoy. Moving on to my 3-star reviews for the month. Firstly, I read Annihilation by Jeff VanderMeer. This is the first book in a apocalyptic dystopian type trilogy. I think the whole trilogy is called The Southern Reach. I'm not sure if I will continue on. I think if I can find the books, I read this one through my library so I got it for free, so if I can find them for free then I will read them, but I'm not like setting out to do that anytime soon. The premise of the story was okay. I think the problem is because it's the first book in a trilogy, like not a lot is explained and so you're left with a lot of questions, and it just didn't seem like the whole world building was done particularly well. So the story is that a group of people are being sent into this zone where no one lives and only certain people have been able to go in there over the past like certain amount of years, and it's meant to be like this really dangerous place and they're meant to be trying to work out if people can like live there and what's going on there. And the protagonist of the story is a woman who is a biologist and she goes there and all hell breaks loose and it all goes a bit crazy, and that's essentially what this book's about. I didn't love it but I didn't hate it, so I will continue on if I can find the books through my library. Next for the 3 stars we have The Opposite House by Helen Oyeyemi. I'm reading all of her work this year. This one follows 2 separate storylines, one of a woman living in London, she is pregnant, and the other of a like Yoruban deity kind of like spirit god that is taken human form in this place known as the Somewhere House. The only reason I didn't give this one any higher rating is just because of my own lack of knowledge on the cultural and various religious aspects of the kind of cultures discussed in this book. In this book there are Cuban people, there are German people, there are African and kind of various different religions, and all of these things kind of intertwined within the story. And because I wasn't certain on what half of the things that they were talking about, I felt like I didn't get the full enjoyment out of the novel. Helen Oyeyemi writes in such a beautiful way, and I know if I went and researched and actually learnt a bit more to do with what she was talking about in this book, then I think I would have enjoyed this one so much more, because the writing was just wonderful. Some of it just reads like poetry, it reads like a song. That's definitely why I gave it kind of a solid 3 stars, because it was just beautiful. But I just felt like I didn't fully understand what was going on most of the time. The final 3-star read for this month was Persuasion by Jane Austen. You guys know if you watched any of my videos this month that I wasn't particularly getting along with this Jane Austen novel. I thought the ending was okay. I think the problem was that I just didn't have any connection to the characters. I didn't feel for them the way I usually do with the Jane Austen characters. There was no kind of endearing quality about them that I fell in love with, and that was just a real shame because usually Jane Austen does it for me. This one follows the story of a woman named Anne who is convinced by her family to call off an engagement with a man who she is very much in love with. 8 years go by and she hasn't seen this man since they broke off their engagement, and then the beginning of this book starts when he comes back into town and she has to deal with her rising emotions and what he is now doing. It was a nice story, but it just didn't have that spark for me, unfortunately, so yes, it was 3 stars. Moving on to my 4-star reads for the month. Firstly, we have Tales from Outer Suburbia by Shaun. It's a collection of short stories that are accompanied by beautiful illustrations. The variety of different kind of ways the stories are told is just wonderful. The illustrations just blow me away. Shaun just has a wonderful way of telling stories, and as you could probably guess by the title of the book, it's all stories that are linked to suburban areas, and they're just these really quaint, beautiful little stories. Some of them are literally just a page long and others go over a number of pages. As you can see, some of them are black and white, some of them are colour. It is just wonderful, and I would really highly recommend. I know for a fact I will definitely be picking up more from Shaun in the future, so if you have any recommendations, let me know. The next thing I have here is actually a magazine that I picked up because I saw it on Mercedes of Mercy's Bookish Musings channel. I will leave her channel link down below, and that is Popshot magazine. So this is a literary magazine, and this is the future issue. This magazine is released 3 times a year, I believe, and when you sign up you then get like the next 3 issues from when you signed up. So this was the first one I received. Inside this one it has a selection of various different short stories by different authors and poetry as well. Alongside the poems and short stories are beautiful illustrations by various different illustrators, and I just thought they were wonderful. I didn't love all of the poems and short stories in this one, but I definitely thought some of them were really, really wonderful, and I will be going and looking at some of the poets and kind of illustrators and things from this one now that I am aware of their stuff. If you want to just buy 1 issue, it costs £6, but if you want to subscribe for the year, it costs £10 for the 3 issues, so that's what I did. Next for my 4 stars we have Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. I read this one as my kind of book club in real life with my friends, and we all really enjoyed it. In fact, we're going to watch the film together this evening. This one follows the story of a boy named Oscar whose father died in the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center. Oscar is struggling to cope with the death of his father, and he comes across this mysterious package with a key inside, and he believes that his father has left it for him. So he goes on a kind of quest across New York trying to discover who this key belongs to, or where it may open, and what reason his father may have left it for. Alongside the story of Oscar, we also have the story of his grandmother and his grandfather, who moved from America from Dresden in Germany after the bombing of Dresden during World War II. So we have a mixture of the 2 kind of disasters that have happened here. So we have the 9/11 and the bombing of Dresden, which are 2 very huge and big things to deal with in a book, and I think Jonathan Safran Foer did a fantastic job of doing that. And the final thing that just made this book really wonderful to me was the format and the various different things that Jonathan Safran Foer uses throughout the novel. So instead of it just being a straightforward novel, he also throws in various different things like circles around words in red pen. We have pages where the words are split up across the page, pages with photographs on as well, parts where the grandmother is writing in letter form to the grandson as well, and all of it was just so versatile, so like you just wanted to pick bits out of the book because it just felt almost like a scrapbook. It was done fantastically, and I really enjoyed this book. To be honest, it was more of a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was just wonderful, and I would highly recommend. This next one again is more of a 4.5 out of 5, and that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. It follows a group of wealthy Russian people who are all kind of interrelated. They're either brothers of each other or sisters of each other, all married in, and they all kind of meet throughout the novel. One of those stories is that of Anna Karenina, who is having an affair and is causing much scandal within the society that she is in. But by far my favourite storyline of this book was that of Levin and his love interest Kitty. I thought they were wonderful, and the way their story progressed throughout the whole book was just beautiful. Yes, this is a bit of a beast of a book, but it reads incredibly easily. It's not hard to understand at all. The story is easy to follow. Yes, there are a number of characters, but you get the gist of it quite easily. Like, I struggled to keep hold of a lot of characters in my head, and I didn't find this one difficult at all. The only reason I knocked off half a star was because there were times where there were discussions on like politics and various things that just went on a little bit too long and got a little bit dreary, but other than that, it was a fantastic read and I would highly recommend. Moving on to my 5-star reads month, and we have 3 this month, which is insane. I very rarely get 5-star reads, but obviously I'm picking up some good books recently. First one is Mouse the Complete Cat Mouse collection by Art Spiegelman. This one is a graphic memoir and it's all in black and white, as you can see here. This one tells the story of Art Spiegelman's father, who lived through Nazi Germany and went to Auschwitz. In the book, the various different nations of people are portrayed with different animals. So the mice are the Jewish people, the pigs are the Polish people, I believe, and the cats are the Nazis. So this isn't just the story of his father and how he lived through Nazi Germany. We also see Art Spiegelman talking with his father in the present day, trying to get the story from him. So Art Spiegelman actually draws himself writing this book, if you get what I mean. And that for me was actually the most heartbreaking and the most telling part of this graphic novel, because not only do you see the horrors that the mother and father went through in Nazi Germany, you actually see the way that this has affected the father in his later years and what it has led him to become, and the way that that has affected his personality in later life, and the negative effects that that has led to in his relationships with various different people. And that was just, oh, it broke my heart. Like, it was just so honest and raw. Art Spiegelman does not sugarcoat anything in this novel. You see the worst of his father and how Nazi Germany has affected him in his life. This was a very deeply moving and upsetting book, but if you are interested in World War II and anything of this kind, I would highly, highly recommend. Second 5-star read for the month was one that completely took me by surprise, because I didn't even plan to read it, and I found it in my room tucked away, and I thought, oh, I'll just pick this one up. You know, it will take me like an hour or so to read. And it was just the most wonderful experience that I've had in such a long time. And the book was Winnie-the-Pooh by A.A. Milne. So I remember having Winnie-the-Pooh stories read to me as a child. I remember watching the animations on television, but I can't remember physically sitting down and reading them myself. And so because this is one of the books on the BBC's top 100 books that you should read, I thought, hey, as I've got it here, I may as well read it. I totally did not expect to have the experience with it that I did. I was completely overwhelmed with nostalgia, and this book is incredibly funny. And not funny like, oh, that's sweet for children to read kind of way. Like, this is legit funny for adults. Like, I was like laughing out loud whilst reading this book. And I think most of the things that I found funny, I definitely wouldn't have understood as a child reading this book. So I look forward to the day when I have like a child near me, maybe not my own, maybe someone else's child, and I want to read these books to them, because they are a joy to read as an adult. And I'm so glad that I decided to pick up this book, because I know for a fact that I'm going to pick this one up when I'm feeling down in the dumps and I just need something to pick me up and to make me laugh, because that will definitely do the job. And my final 5-star read for the month was Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi. So this book is a letter written by Ta-Nehisi to his adolescent son. Ta-Nehisi is sharing his life story with his son, and it is just the most wonderful thing I've read, and also the most heartbreaking, and all of the emotions you could possibly ever fit in. Like, I felt so many things whilst reading this. I neglected to mention that Ta-Nehisi is a black man, and the kind of primary aspect of this story is how him growing up as a black person, like how he was affected and how the colour of his skin meant that he was kind of treated differently, and what that meant growing up as a black person, and how he is treated now today, and how he perceives the world because of the way he grew up and things like that. My overall love of this book was, not only did it deeply affect me in various different emotional senses, it also made me feel uncomfortable. It gave me this feeling of shame for being in a body that is white. I know that probably wasn't the intention of the author, but I actually enjoyed the fact of feeling uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to just go through my life feeling like I understand the world, and this definitely made me feel like I didn't understand the world. There were things in this book that I literally had no idea about. For instance, the American Civil War. I had no idea when that was or what that was really even about until I read this book and then did some research on it. And I like that, and I like to admit that I was ignorant of that fact, because it's not something that I was ever taught in history. It's not something that we, I don't know whether it's just where I live in England, but we don't get taught a lot of this stuff. Or if we do get taught about it, we only get a very kind of brief overview of what Britain's part of that kind of part of history may have been. And so I liked that this book made me feel like an idiot at points and maybe kind of question what I understood about the world. And I like that it made me want to go and research and learn things about various points of history and various things that are going on in America and different places in the world. Like, I like this happening. I like feeling like I need to learn more, and obviously I need to learn more. I don't like know everything, but I just thought this book was wonderful, and I honestly think this should be a book that everyone picks up regardless of the colour of your skin or your gender or where you are in the world. I think everyone could take positives from reading a book like this. So there we are, those are all the books that I read in April. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Let me know if you read any of these. What have you been reading in April? As always, I'll leave links to Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, everything I've mentioned today down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I will see you soon. Bye!